Su atención, por favor, señoras y señores.
We're about to start, so please be seated and silence your cell phones. Thank you.
Su atención, por favor, señoras y señores. Próximos a comenzar con este encuentro, solicitamos, por favor, tomar ubicación definitiva, silenciar los dispositivos electrónicos. Muchas gracias. Su atención, por favor, señoras y señores. Próximo.
We're about to start. Please be seated and silence your cell phones. Thank you.
Reiteramos, señoras y señores.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make an entry and into the room and be seated so that we can start. I would like to kindly ask everybody to take a seat so that we can start with this meeting. Thank you.
Señoras y señores.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to kindly ask you to please be seated so that we can start with the meeting. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for us to have you here. We've shared the morning with some of you, and yesterday as well. We have very long meetings, not only today, but also tomorrow with the meeting that we are going to have between CELAC and the European Union, a mechanism that we haven't been able to operationalize in 5 years, and now we're going to have a meeting. We think that this is going to be a nice forum to see what the challenges are, the ones that we see as a region, and also what are the possibilities that these challenges give us. And this morning, we were discussing a document, an CELAC document, that we found in detail what the region experiences day after day and the different challenges that we have ahead of us in our region regarding climate change, regarding development gaps and social gaps as well, the ones that we have in the entire region. And that's why we thought it was extremely interesting to have this exchange in the morning, but at the same time, mark a difference and now have a meeting of CELAC, a new meeting of CELAC, a meeting of foreign ministers with all the countries that are present here today. We have a task regarding the focal points and the work that has been done throughout the year. The 15 pillars that Argentina committed in January when we assumed the pro tempore presidency, and how that brought about more than 60 actions of work, and two-thirds of those have already been done. And this is thanks to the work of each one of the teams that you lead. And that's why, for us, we're very proud to be here today. And also, we're proud because we have the possibility of discussing with each other in a complex environment, in a world that is full of uncertainty, with no certainties regarding the way in which we should go. However, Latin America and the Caribbean they join hands. Latin America and the Caribbean both mark a milestone in an era of disagreements where multilateralism are values that are expressed only in speech, but then in practice, multilateralism seems to be questioned. And so we have a double standard that Latin America and the Caribbean always express in the Western world. That double standard that Latin America and the Caribbean both express vis-a-vis the large powers is a token, a core token to be able to revert it, not with words, but with specific deeds. So this meeting and the meeting yesterday, the meeting tomorrow, speak for themselves. The meetings that all of you are having with your counterparts evidence the willingness to have a dialogue in a region that wants to continue creating and building a region of peace. Latin America and the Caribbean is an area, a zone of peace. And that's clearly an asset nowadays. With a world of uncertainty, that becomes an asset. And with the debate that exists about the visible limitations that globalization has had as from 2008 going forward regarding the decline of international trade, we see that that paradigm starts to change. That globalization of the high financing and global value chains as a productive paradigm today had or saw the pandemic first, and then the war, invasion of Russia, of Ukraine. And then there is a crisis of supply chains and challenges that development model that is linked or that perhaps growth model that is linked to global value chains. Today, we're starting to see and we're starting to discuss a new paradigm, and that paradigm is connected with regional value chains, but mainly it is linked to identifying new supply chains that are safe. So we went from supply chains that were efficient to supply chains that were safe. And therefore, Latin America and the Caribbean as a region has an asset. Latin America and the Caribbean as a region has an opportunity and presents that opportunity to the world. Why? Because as a result of all these years, as a result of the fact that we have been able to solve problems with dialogue tables, with the tool that is given to us by speech, by the word. And we see then that this asset that we have in Latin America and the Caribbean represents an asset, not only a cultural and moral asset, but also an economic asset. And therefore, we start to be looked at by the world. And we are the depositors of safe supply chains. That debate is a very current one. In many of your tables, I'm sure this discussion is present when you go to different fora. And that new paradigm that is being discussed needs to find Latin Americans and Caribbeans not as a passive party to what's going to happen. If we are going through a path towards safe supply chains, those supply chains need to be distinctive and they have particular to the needs that Latin America and the Caribbean as a region has. And I include that these safe supply chains have to be fair. They must be fair. And what do I mean by fairness? Fairness has to be anchored in the development of those supply chains, and that development cannot be extractive one. It has to have a productive chain that generates quality employment, transfer of technology, and scientific and technological development for those supply chains to be created, or where that arbitrary link needs to be created. So those supply chains must be fair because they have to have an environmental awareness. They have to have social awareness. They must be fair because they have to be anchored in a project of economic development with generation of jobs, economic development with social justice. And that is why I would like to call upon you to have a discussion today and tomorrow with the European Union members so that we can put forward the challenges that we have as a region, we can show the potential that we have as a region, and above all, we can claim the position that we want to have in a world that is being divided, that is being allocated, and that is being taken different roles. The role of Latin America and the Caribbean is defined by Latin America and the Caribbean, nobody else. And therefore, I welcome this meeting. I would like to greet every single one of you, and I hope that we have a good work day today and tomorrow. Thank you. Among other things, I have to allocate or give the floor, and this is something that I don't like very much. Also, I have to keep time because we're a little bit behind. So I'm going to start very quickly with